All right, it is time to spot the signals, speak their language, make the sale. Today we are diving into, this is episode 5 of the Sales Psychology series. It's also episode number 2 of the mini-series, a series in a series. This is Neuro-Aware Selling, Recognizing and Responding in the Home to the Neurodivergent Buyer. So that's what we're covering today. So this is going to be an absolute awesome episode. Make sure to go back and listen to part 1 from last week if you haven't heard it yet. This will build on that and continue this journey that we're on about sales psychology. So this episode, here's the purpose of this episode: to equip you and all of you who are in-home sales professionals to confidently recognize neurodivergent communication patterns in real time and be able to adjust your approach with empathy and precision, making sure that, of course, buyers feel safe, seen, respected throughout the appointment. This is what I want to be very, very clear about. This is not about labeling. It's about honoring differences and adapting your sales language so everyone gets a fair shot at saying yes. This is no different than learning new, maybe studying personality styles, the DISC method, or it's the color codes, or whatever it is. Basically, think about it as an overlay on top of that. So it's just another classification. It's another way to differentiate how a client perceives the information, how they receive the information, how they process the information, so we can communicate clearer, so they can understand better, so we make the connection and, of course, serve at the highest level. By serving at the highest level, you know what that means. Of course, for the most part, that means making the sale. So that's where we get to close it now. So that is the purpose of this episode, and I'm stoked that you're here. Thank you for joining me. Before we hop in, I want to take a second and read a review. This is a good one, a 5-star review. It says very beneficial. This is from JIJC1110. Don't know who that is, but hope you're out there. And it says, awesome content for veterans and new guys. Easy to listen to and apply in the field. So that is the review on Apple Podcasts. If you've gotten some value, and if this is the first time that you are joining me, welcome. Glad you're here. If it's okay with you, my goal here is to provide, so here's your ninja tip. Here's how to ask for reviews in the home. My goal here is to provide you 5-star content, 5-star value in every single episode. And at the end, if I have and you've learned something, I raise your hand if it's okay if I ask for a 5-star review from you. That way I can grow my, of course, get better guests on the show. I can grow the show to be able to bring you better information. So only if you've gotten value from it, then I ask you, return the favor and leave me a review. So I appreciate that. So whoever you are, JIJC1110, if you hear this and you hear me read your review on an episode, reach out to me, and that will get you a 1-hour coaching session, which is a very high value gift, because I will tell you, I have not ever had a single coaching session where the people did not leave that session and go close deals that they wouldn't have closed. Higher tickets, higher close rates, happens every single time. If you don't believe it, reach out to me and let's prove it. So I challenge you. Let's have a session. I challenge you to have a session with me and not come across something to implement and be able to grow your numbers. So let's hop into this episode. Also, I have to mention this, especially because the last episode I was talking about the Black Sabbath Ozzy Osbourne concert. Well, it just so happens that from the date of this recording, it was 2 days ago. Sadly, Mr. Ozzy Osbourne passed away. So this is everyone raise your glass. Let's do a toast to the godfather of heavy metal, Prince of Darkness, Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. Everybody raise your glass. We're going to toast to his departure. Rest in peace, Mr. Osbourne. 3, 2, 1. All right. Ozzy, Good stuff, man. You've inspired me to all of this journey this last couple of weeks between the concert and your passing. You've inspired me to go learn some of. I play guitar. For everybody that doesn't know, I've played for since I was 13, and a lot of people would say I'm pretty decent. So I'm going to go learn some of the some of the Aussie songs. Let's learn some I'm going to learn some Sabbath. I'm going to learn probably some Randy Rhoads off the Blizzard of Oz. Make sure I get some Zakk Wylde in there, and we're going to rock it out. So message me if you would like to hear some of my playing, and maybe I'll throw some videos up in the Facebook group or something. So let's get into this episode. So like I said, this is Neuro-Aware Selling Part 2, Recognizing and Responding in the Home. The goal is to spot the signals so we can speak the right language. It's different than just looking for some sort of personality style. Different personality formats. If they're the driver personality, or they're the information gatherer, or they're the fun, joy, laughter person, whatever. This is different than that. It overlays that. So what you need to know about this is all of those different personality types can exist within neurodivergence. Neurodivergence is an overlay on top of that. And again, there's nothing wrong or broken. It's just different. So, and again, I will absolutely raise my hand and say I fall in that category. ADHD that's a big one. It's common, especially in our world. Entrepreneurs, salespeople, very, very often fall into some level of neurodivergence category. This is the autism spectrum. You have to understand it to be able to navigate it. So if you're curious and you've never taken one, go take an online test. It will tell you very quickly, and you'll recognize the signs and symptoms, and so you can understand yourself better and your own brain's wiring better, so you can function better in society. It explains so many things. Once I started driving down this road and learning about it, I started understanding a whole lot more of, what's going on there. What is it? What happens? So, diving into this. So this is part 2 of the sub-series. This is in episode 4. What we unpacked was neurodivergence, what it is and why it matters. Today, we're going to take it in the home. And so we're going to walk through how to identify neurodivergent communication and how to adjust your tone, pace, and script so you connect deeply, build trust, and make the sale. The most important part is without making anyone feel broken, awkward, or overwhelmed. And those are definitely things that people struggle with, especially if you are neurodivergent and you go out in society. This is a big deal because so many times society will make you feel that way. And that is never a good place to be. So, section 1. What neurodivergence looks like in the home. I'm going to shorten this to neurospicy because it's easier to say and it's just more fun. So just like shortening neuro-linguistic programming to brain science, I love brain science, and so we're going to do that. My kids were making fun of me the other day for starting to shorten words. I've been listening to millennials and beyond, zennials, their language lately. My kids are 12 and 14, so we were making sandos in the kitchen, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, stop shortening all these words." It was cracking me up. So raise your hand if you've got kids that you were speaking their language and they don't realize how cool we were, and they think we're totally not now. It's happening in my house. So anyway, back to the topic. Here's the thing. We don't diagnose. You're not there to diagnose. You're not the doctor. You're not the psychologist. We're just there to notice. Now, what are some of the signs of processing differences that show up during your appointments? So start paying attention to this. One is eye contact patterns. When we make eye contact, a lot of times, so there's several ways to notice this. If eye contact seems out of the norm, it's either too intense or way too little or inconsistent, that could be a sign and symptom. Now, not one of these is going to tip you off that, oh, this is what is going on, but start watching for the combination of all of these things. So eye contact is a big one. The next is tone or cadence shifts. So if they're very monotone, maybe delayed answers or fast-paced rambling. All of this is a big deal. I had a coaching client a little while back, and we were talking about this. He went to an appointment with a gentleman who just constantly talked, like so fast, and just constantly rambled and constantly talked. And he finally was able to get words into the conversation. And the minute that the gentleman stopped with the constant verbalization, what happened is all of a sudden a bunch of tics showed up with body jerks and facial jerks and those types of things. And he recognized really quickly this gentleman had Tourette's, which is on the spectrum we're talking about. So as it turns out, the constant vocalization, the constant rambling was his way. It was his coping mechanism. It were his, the way that he was stimming, is what it's called, to not have the tics. It was focused and funneled into vocalizations. So the minute that he went to listening, all of a sudden these tics showed up. So, of course, in that type of situation, all it takes is just to take a second to make them feel a little more comfortable. Say, it's much more about having the I see you and I understand conversation and vibe than it is and being like, hey, it's no big deal. It makes no difference to me type of conversation than it is because when someone is experiencing something neurodivergence, they already struggle with themselves so often. So when we can make them feel heard, seen, and safe, this is where you truly show up as not just a great salesperson that serves at the highest level, but with heart, empathy, and compassion. And that is what makes incredible people. So make the sell or not, it doesn't matter. When you truly help someone feel seen and heard, that the sell will follow. It has nothing to do, the focus is caring at the highest level. So with that being said, yes, absolutely. I mean, we're a professional. We're there for a job. Our job is to, serve, solve problems, and sell stuff. Nothing happens till something gets sold, but the sell is secondary to making the connection and helping them feel seen and heard. So always remember those priorities in that order. So tone and cadence shift. They're monotone, delayed answers, fast-paced rambling. Another one is body language. Fidgeting, especially if there's any type of fidget issues. One thing is posture away from you. They may seem to turn, how normally when you're standing, there's really an unwritten rule of the distance that you should stand away from people, the angle that you stand with. All of this goes out the window, and it might be completely different. They may be very close. They may be further away. They may turn more away from you than the typical roughly 30 to 45 degrees that we're used to standing in. One of the things is that you might notice is mask-like expressions. It's like a forced actual facial expression. Because one thing that I notice, and I can speak to this very, very clearly and very closely because my wife absolutely falls into this category, is AuDHD, which is autism and ADHD combined. And lots of the conversations we have had is she was like, don't judge the way that you think that I'm responding based on my facial expressions, because I don't have a lot of control of my face very often. It does not truly represent what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling based on what our conversation is. So it's important to remember this. Another one is language indicators. Neurodivergent people are extremely literal. That means they're going to miss some social cues. Lots of interruption, lots of tangents. Accept it. Understand it. So when the cool thing is when you understand the rules of the game, it's easy to play the game. If you don't understand the rules of the game, then it feels like you're stabbing in the dark and it's awful. And so understanding this about this type of communicator is so helpful. So when they interrupt often, recognize that. Let the tangents happen. They will come back. If you stop the train of thought, then it's so easy to derail and so difficult to get back on the track. So just know that you're going to have be a little more patient and have be able to follow the journey. Because speaking of my wife, one of the things that she's always said, she was like, I don't have a train of thought. It's more like it's a four-wheeler that just goes off-roading most of the time. So think about it like that, because that's a great example of what it's like communicating with someone who has a neurodivergent brain. Decision-making style. This is a big one. A lot of times they're going to seem detached or hyper-analytical. It is what it is. But again, recognizing it is super crucial in this. So here is an example. There was somebody that I was working with. They never, ever, ever made eye contact. They didn't say much. But when I slowed down, this was a few years ago. It's like I thought that there was like no connection. It just felt completely flat. I went and I did my thing like always. People warm up to me insanely fast, typically, but they didn't. It's like they were just cold. They were distant. There was hardly ever no eye contact. They didn't say much. When I slowed down, and what I did is actually started writing a lot more things out. I got my notebook. This is why I always recommend have a notebook, something you can write on, something you can draw on. When I started giving a lot more visuals, they really opened up and ended up, we did a really awesome system for them. But it wasn't until I recognized that and changed the way that I was trying to communicate that they finally opened up and were able to receive the information. It wasn't because they didn't want to engage in the conversation. It's just not how they were wired. So pay attention to this. So here is a script tip. Here's a word track for you that will help with this. Say something like, hey, I know this is a lot of information. It's a lot of info. Would it help if I sketched it out instead? Would it help if I drew some pictures here? And really, I'll tell you all, short circuit it. Just always draw pictures along with what you're saying, because it's people learn. We all know people learn differently. There's visual people, there's auditory people, there's people that have to touch things. So try in every presentation, try to hit all of those categories at the same time in your presentation, and it's much more well-rounded. So that is your ninja tip for this moment. Now, let's go through some different neurodivergent buyer profiles, some neurospicy profiles. One of the things is understanding the common patterns will help you prepare without assumptions. Because remember, we never assume anything. You know what it means when you assume? It makes an ass out of you and me. That's what assume means. So we don't assume anything. So what we want to cover here is the four most common neurodivergent profiles that you're going to encounter. So the first one, again, is ADHD, scattered focus, impulsivity, excitement. One of the big ones is time blindness. I'll basically guarantee you, every single one of you, probably if you're not this, you live with someone who is time blindness. Okay, it's like, hey, what are you doing? We got to go in 5 minutes. I've got plenty of time, and they still have to maybe get a shower and change clothes, all these things. You're like, no, wait. You don't have enough time. That's not what that means. So time blindness is a big one. Now, just on the autism spectrum, one is precision, predictability, hyperfocus, a lot of sensory sensitivity. Then just here's the big one that how you will know: insanely blunt honesty. Just insane blunt honesty. You're gonna hear a lot of there is no dancing around it. It's not sugarcoating anything. It's just blunt honesty. That's the type of communication you're going to receive. And if you return the communication just like that, they appreciate it because they can understand exactly what you're saying. One of the things that is so crucial with would my wife and again, my wife and I have this conversation all the time. She says, I wish people would just say what they mean and stop dancing around the shit because I can't understand it. And so she was like, I have to work so hard to understand what somebody is meaning because they just don't say what they mean. So this is a great lesson for all of us because especially in sales and just in life and in communication in general, stop sugarcoating things. Yes, use tact, use diplomacy, but also say what you mean. There's so many of us that we've been conditioned that we have to disguise what we're trying to say, especially in sales. And I'm telling you, that old training is going away. Throw it in the trash can and actually say what you mean, because people are tired of that sales BS dancing around the topic bullcrap. The BS meter goes off a mile high, and it's awful. So the new way of selling is this: just say what you mean. Just be honest, be truthful, be ethical. Don't lie, cheat, or steal, of course, and just be clear in your communication. The next one, of course, is dyslexia. Difficulty reading proposals or contracts. They're very verbal processors. So watch for that as well. And of course, we're not asked. What you don't want to do is just say, are you dyslexic? Are you on the autism spectrum? No, we're recognizing it so we can communicate. Don't just come out and ask that unless they volunteer. If they say, hey, you're going to have to give me a minute. We've got a neuro-spicy brain here. And sometimes they will. Great, because one of the things here is oversharing. When someone overshares an enormous amount of information, especially about their personal life, there is a really highly likely chance that you're dealing with someone that falls under this category. And then, of course, the last one is AuDHD. That's autism and ADHD combined. Very inconsistent energy, high sensitivity to tone. Very highly sensitive to your tone of voice and how you're delivering your words. There's especially with this, a very intense interest in detail, and they're also quick to get overwhelmed. Now, this particular buyer, this particular client, will not respond the same to the way you handle objections. They will not respond to almost anything. They literally can see right through just about every type of construct that you can have. It's very, very, very black and white with this type of a buyer. And I know this because I've been married to one for 20 years. So I can tell you this with an insane amount of confidence. So what would happen is every single time I would come home and try to practice scripts, and I would practice the closing sequence and all these things, my wife has never answered how people normally answer. And so it was great for the practice because she always would have a different type of response that I would have to learn how to overcome. It's possibly a reason why I got real good real fast in my career, because I just was constantly in batting practice with somebody who was not answering like normal. So when I was able to overcome those, then everything else was walk in the park. Here's another story. I've been pulling stories from my history to really talk about this. One time I was in the house, so stories from the house. And raise your hand if you've had this too. I had a buyer one time. They were just, oh my God, always interrupting. It doesn't matter what I was saying, just solidly interrupting. And then between all these interruptions, finally was able to get a word in edgewise, then overwhelmed and wanted to think about it. And then it's just like, I haven't even been able to communicate. All of a sudden they're overwhelmed. I'm like, what are you freaking overwhelmed for? And so I was like, hang on, we've got to figure this out. But what happened is I started to break the information down into bigger chunks. So for example, okay, let's cover these 3 things in a chunk. So 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. And what happened is I started shifting from paragraph talk to more visual chunks and short answers. So drawing more pictures, really just bullet pointing, just bullet points and the words along with it, this, and visual chunks and short answers and short questions to them. Started understanding the different types of communication. So one of the lessons here, what I want to share with you is if the way that you're communicating is not coming across and you tell it's not landing, don't just continue to try to drive down the same path. Figure out ways to shift your communication style in real time to adjust. Try different things until you find one that they are responding to. It is okay. You can you're not a tree. You can move, you can change, you can adjust accordingly. But you can only do this if you know your process and you know your system really well. But then once you know the rules, then you can bend the rules and you can break the rules because you know what the rules are. So let's get into segment 3. The permission stack for neurodivergent buyers is slightly different than our typical permission stack. So remember the permission stack that I trained that we talk about, which is first ask permission. Second is give data, give the information. The third is to check in. Okay, after that yawn. Oh my gosh, y'all. I love my podcast because I keep it real. I don't edit crap out. It's just like, hey, this is who I am. This is how I communicate. The lesson here too is, when you're in a house, just be real with people like that. If you've got a yawn while you're in your appointment, yawn while you're in your appointment. Say, oh my gosh, it's been a long day. Hey, it's the evening slump. You got any caffeine? It's okay. People get it. They go through that too. Be human and they'll be human. The more transparent you are, the more transparent they will be. The more vulnerable and open you are, the more they will open up and be vulnerable to you. So here's the permission stack for neurospicy buyers, neurodivergent buyers. Remember that safety creates clarity. You can't influence someone who's shut down. So this is super crucial. So step 1 is ask permission, but we've got to ask permission often. Can I show you a few options visually? I'll draw them out for you. That's asking permission a lot more often with this type of buyer. The second, give data, or a lot of it is giving structure. They thrive in structure. So you can say something like, well, here's what most people do in your situation and why. And then tell them what it is. Here's what most people do. Lots of social proof, an insane amount of social proof. Here's what most people do in your situation, and here's why they do that. Because we're creating safety. Check in gently. Our check-ins are not nearly as pointed because that comes across as a direct type of, it's almost like this oppositional avoidance. So when we check in, we have to check in a lot softer. So would it help to pause here and clarify anything? It was way different than, does that make sense? Would it help to pause here and clarify anything? Do you have any questions about what we just covered, or are you okay to move on to the next section? It's being much more clearer and very direct in the way that we communicate this in these sections. So what this does, of course, this stack lowers resistance by creating predictability and autonomy, two very key needs of neurodivergent buyers. So here's another word track for you. Listen, I'm not here to rush you. Just want to help you feel confident in your decision. Sound fair? Or fair enough? Or, I'm not here to rush you, just want to help you feel confident in your decision. Is that okay with you? And so that makes them feel very seen, heard, and comfortable, able to make this decision, knowing that you're going to adjust the pace and the delivery to match how they're learning. That definitely makes them feel seen and heard, which is something that a neurodivergent person hardly ever receives anywhere in society. So here's what not to do, because well-meaning mistakes still are mistakes and they still lose trust. At this point, especially, it doesn't matter your intention, you still screwed up. So 1 is do not call someone distracted or not paying attention, because that is something that happens very often, especially as a child growing up. This is pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, with a conditioned against this. So don't use the word, don't think that they're distracted or not paying attention. They are. They just absorb information differently. The other one is don't assume confusion equals them being disinterested. Just they haven't gotten it yet. It doesn't mean that they're not interested. The other one is don't push fast decisions or force eye contact. Do not push for the decision quickly, and definitely don't force eye contact. This will turn them off faster than anything. The other is don't skip clarity. Even if they seem with you, check in and make sure they're with you. This is huge. This is so huge. You've got to make sure to truly check in so much of the time, because they're just not going to. Because of our society, a neurodivergent person has their entire life been accused of being lazy, been accused of not paying attention, all of these things. So the second you enter into any of that vibe, immediately they shut down and pull away, which is not what we want, of course. So that's why this is so important. Because they've been so misunderstood and dismissed their whole lives, you have the opportunity to be the first person who gets it, who slows down, who speaks human, that's bigger than a cell. That is cells with integrity, and I truly, truly want that for every single one of you. So let's recap this. 1 is learn to notice the signs but not diagnose. Number 2 is adapt your flow. Use more visuals. Adjust your pace. A lot more check-ins. Use the permission stack differently to guide safely. Sales is about service, especially when the buyer's brain works differently. This is so much of that. So, of course, there's a million more pieces of information that we could cover here, but I hope the last episode in this one gives you some insight into this type of buyer. So here's the thing. If this resonated with you, share this episode with your team. Share this episode with somebody that you know that could use it. Make the commitment to sell with empathy. And if you want help training your entire team in Neuro-Aware selling, or you would like to talk about some one-on-one coaching, I do have a couple spots open. Hit me up. You can get me at sam@closeitnow.net. You can reach me at go to the website, closeitnow.net, and fill out the contact me form, or go join the Facebook group. Search Close It Now on Facebook. We do a lot of stuff in there, lots of free trainings, live trainings, and things like that. So if you want to know more about that, let me know. Otherwise, I would love for you to leave me a 5-star review. So if you got value from this, leave me a review. And I want to tell you all about a couple things I've got coming up. One is I had a great meeting yesterday and today. There will be an event in the fall of 2025. The first one of these we're going to be doing on door-to-door, how to add a door-to-door team, canvassing team, so you can control your lead flow year-round in your business. So there's going to be a one-day event. More than likely, it's going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and that is going to be coming up in the fall of 2025. So watch out for that. I'm partnering with a couple people. It is going to be freaking ridiculously awesome. So specifically, if you are in HVAC or one of the trades that doesn't typically door knock, we're going to show you how effective it is and how high the return on your investment it is. It's the single highest return on investment you can possibly do for lead generation in all of home services. So that is going to be happening. Of course, there's several ways that you can work with me. We do one-on-one coaching virtually. We can schedule a time to talk about coming to your location and training your whole team. That is the single fastest way to explode your company's sales almost overnight. There is no magic bullet, but every single time we train, we see on average a 20 to 30% lift in your numbers. That is your total revenue. We're talking about close rates, average tickets. It all goes up every single time. As long as you implement, it gets it done. So reach out to me about that. Also, we've got trade scale. which is a division of the company now, which is diving into all the departments and divisions of your organization, partnering with us, not in an equity type of, we're not coming in like a PE group or anything like that, but it is a longer term type of where we're partnership, where we're together and we are diving in and we're helping you grow your organization and every single time we've done this, it's beyond where you thought was possible. So most people here's one quick little nugget. When we're setting goals, even when you think you're setting big goals, typically they're really crappy goals because the goals that you're currently setting are based on your current way of thinking. If you think you're thinking bigger, it's still based on the structure that's in your own head and what you've seen is possible and all those things. When you bring in outside coaches who have seen and done larger things than you and have gone through this process more than once, more than twice, more than, my partner in this, Tim, he's retrenched over 140 Fortune 500 companies. So when we come into your organization, we've seen some large volume. We've seen a lot of growth in a lot of places. So we can easily look over your organization and see all of the blind spots that you can't see. And then when we correct those and help you, we don't correct them for you, you do the work. But when we help you, holy freaking crap, the explosion that happens in your organization, strictly because it's so dang much more efficient. Now you've got systems in place, all the things. So hit me up if you want to talk about trade scale, because that is, if you've been thinking about possibly joining a platform or, selling to, if you want to sell, truly, this is the best way to do it because you retain all of your equity along the way. We help you scale to the place where you can get a massive amount of multiple, and we haven't taken any equity. So you retain ownership. And this is a big, big, big difference than everything else that's going on in the world right now, especially in home services. So we can have this conversation. We are doing things differently, like always, here at Close It Now. And I want to see you win. I want to see you succeed. I hope you feel and hear my heart in this because you have greatness in you. I am here to be the mirror to help you realize and remember who you truly are on the inside, help you see, help you dream again, help you see the vision that was there, the reason you started your company to start with, the reason you got into sales to start with, the reason that you're doing what you're doing. I'm here to be the mirror to help you see the very best version of yourself and then multiply that by 10. So that is who I am, and that's what I'm doing. And my mission is to encourage, inspire, and motivate you to achieve that next level. So thanks for listening to the episode today. I'm excited to spend this time with you. I'm grateful for every single one of you. Join the ecosystem. We've got a lot of stuff coming out. I'm going to go ahead and hint that I do have an ecosystem that is being developed. We're going to have a really easy to access monthly I don't want to call it mastermind, but just a network of where we're going to be doing some trainings. It's going to get you access to some script library and just get you close to the campfire. And so I'm super excited about this. As it develops, I'll announce it more. But I want to drop the hint right now because it's going to be very easy for basically every single person to be able to access this. We can't give it away for free, but I already provide an insane amount of value for free on the podcast, but I want you to know that there's so much more coming for you to be able to step up your game, that it's going to be exciting this year in 2025 and on into next year. So thanks for listening, everybody. Until next time, make sure you go work to become someone worth buying from.